Okay, we've all been through this. I don't care if you're a top producer doing 30, 40, $50 million in business, or if you're somebody that maybe struggled out of the gate and you're only doing a million or 2 million, or maybe just a handful of sales a year. We've all gone through this, and here's the thing: we're all going to go through it again in the future at some point. What is this? It's called the downward spiral. And the downward spiral, you can think of it like getting a cold in the industry, and the cold affects your performance. Every one of us is going to get it. It's just a matter of when. And then it's what we do about it that makes the biggest difference. So I'm going to give you the symptoms you're going to experience at some point. Maybe a few of you are experiencing these things right now. The first thing is an attitude shift. Something has influenced your attitude. So you're kind of not performing at your highest level because your attitude is just like, you're apathetic, you're a little down, you're a little in the dumps, you've gotten beaten up on a listing or beaten up on a sale. So your attitude has been affected in some way. The second thing that's going to happen when your attitude's been affected is you're going to have a work habit shift. And your work habit shift is going to come a little bit later. You go home a little bit earlier. You're not going to put forward the true priorities that it takes to be successful. So you let things slide, right? So your priorities shift. So your work habits change. Third thing that's going to happen is a commitment shift. You're just not going to be as committed as you normally are. So you're just going to say, I'll put things off till tomorrow. There's not a sense of urgency to what you're doing. The fourth thing that's going to happen is because of those things, your performance is going to suffer. And the last thing that's going to happen is your results are going to suffer. So your performance is you going out and starting to work with new buyers. You're working with new sellers. You're getting new referrals. But that's going to slip. And then what's going to slip even further is your results, which the results are closings where you actually get paid, which then can cycle back to an attitude problem. So you can see where agents can spiral right down out of the business. We don't want that to happen to you. So what can we do? Well, the number one thing we can do is to recognize that we're going through a downward spiral and then take action. So just like you taking medicine, taking some kind of action towards getting better is essential for you to recover as quickly as possible. Because if you don't, you could be out of the business, four legs up in the parking lot of your broker's office and say, I'm going to go get a quote unquote real job. So, 4 steps to an upward spiral. We talked about the downward spiral. Well, what's the upward spiral to take you out of that? Number one is this: having clarity. Here's what happens: confused mind says no. When you're confused about what you need to do every day, when you're confused about what your goals even are, when you're confused about what you're trying to accomplish every day, this lack of clarity creates confusion. And then confused mind says no. It just says, you know what? I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to be apathetic today. I'm just going to phone it in. This is the biggest problem that most agents have. They don't have clarity. I need you to have absolute crystal clear clarity on what you want to get done. As soon as you have clarity, the clouds part. Now you start to get a little bit more motivated. This is having a goal in front of yourself, right? Second thing is, I need to focus on results. Stop doing the things that don't produce a result. 80% of what you're doing is not producing results. Only 20% of what you're doing right now is creating 80% of your results. So what I need you to do is say, okay, what's the 20% I'm doing that's creating 80%? I need to focus more on that, right? I got to get really focused in on dialed in on that. There's a secret method to do that. Doing that, it's called the Genesis effect. That is where you print out all your sales over the last 12 months, just one line report out of MLS. You write down next to it, what was the genesis of those transactions? Where do those leads come from? And then you say, oh, now I get it. This is what's creating results in my business. And I focus on those things, right? Third thing is this: create a process. Every top agent has a process. You might call it a strategy. You might call it a checklist. You might call it a system, but it's a process by which they run their business. They have a process for lead generation. They have a process for buyers. They have a process for sellers. What's your process? When you don't have a process, the problem is you can't systemize. And when you can't systemize, you can't scale. So what happens is you're just winging every situation. Everything's a unique situation. It can't be like that. If you want to run a successful business, get predictable results, you got to run through a process. And that process is going to be dynamic. It's going to change, but you got to establish one. So take a look at your business like a loaf of bread, slice it up. Just start with the first slice. What's the first slice? First slice might be, how do I lead generate? Because that leads to everything else, right? How do I lead generate in a consistent way that has a process behind it? Second thing is, how do I work with buyers? What's my process? Third one might be, how do I work with sellers? What's my follow-up plan? What's my CRM plan? What's my social media plan? All of those things have a process. The fourth thing is this: be consistent. You are at war with yourself with consistency. And the reason you're not performing at your highest level is because you're not consistent. You have the best of intention. You know what you need to do. Most of us know what we need to do, right? We just got to be consistent. Like if I go to my dietitian, what do they say? Eat less, exercise more. There's no mystery to this. We know what to do, right? Every time you go to coach, same thing. You know what to do. It's you being consistent that's the issue here. So be consistent. And how do you be consistent? Remove decision making from your life. You don't get to make decisions. You know what you're going to do every day. You have your 5 non-negotiables. I'm going to do it every morning without hesitation because that's my plan. I'm working my process, right? So there you go. Recognize when you're downward spiral, and all of us are going to go through one. And then put yourself into the upward spiral model, and it will help you break through and get well faster. Hope you had a great day and go out there and crush it in the market. If you want more ideas like this, you want more motivation, you want more strategy, more lead generation techniques, join us over at eRealEstateCoach.com. We've got an incredible coaching program over there called the Path Performance Coaching. It's designed to help you really get focused on lead gen and becoming a listing driven agent. And it's only $1 for the first 30 days just to take it for a test drive and see if it works for you. Love to see you over there. Have a great day and good selling.